still have that inner child in them that I still carry at times. I try to be that light for them because I think that the more I shine my light, the more people say, hey, there's someone else like me. There's someone else like me. And I want to connect with them or what organization or whatever they are doing. I want to be affiliated with that. So I guess that's my story for today. I am very thankful, and I've said it before, I am happy to be me. I am so happy to be me. All the things that I went through. I did not ever want to get involved with talking about my personal story, but hell, we've been talking personal these last few sessions, and I know they've been 3 or 4 minutes long and things like that, and whatever. I'd never wanted to get into talking about the personal things that I went through growing up because of the fact that I felt bad for bringing out things and saying what I experienced as a child and putting it on my parents, who are still alive to this day. I didn't want to incriminate them. Those crimes have been done long ago. They've been gone and done long ago. And I don't want to sit back here and turn this into I'm going to get back at you, or I'm pointing fingers at what you did. But those experiences that I did experience at the hands of both of my parents, still to this day, they were going, made me who I am, gave me the perspective that I have today. And that I can say I appreciate. I appreciate those encyclopedias that when I was on restriction, I would sneak out whenever there was no one around. I'd make little secret missions, and I'd go and I'd grab, number 17 and number 23 out of the encyclopedias, and I'd run back to the room, and I'd sit back and I just pour over those books and read and find out all kinds of things about what's going on in the world. And they were the old, those old Encyclopedia Britannicas that you got back in the day when we were kids, at least in my age. Nowadays, you got the internet. You can look through your phone. But it was a whole lot different back then, because when you had just the R book or you had the W, you start going through all these different things and words that start with the W, and you find out places, and you go to Warsaw, Poland, and you're looking at these things, and you're looking and you're reading and you're saying to yourself, wow, where is that? Where in the world is that at in the map? Then you look at the map where Warsaw is at. Then you find out what's going on there at that time. It was always amazing to me, all the different things that I would see and read, and just have my mind going in so many different places. And it was those experiences. If I wasn't hunkered down and on restriction, in the room, forced to stay in that room, I would have never have reached out and looked at these things. That gave me my upbringing, and it's really, really something, because years later, as I worked in the prison system, and I would just walk by, and I would be doing my rounds in the prisons, and I would see those guys reading books or just laying on the bunk, and I would just stop in and I'd say, hey, what's up? What's going on, man? And guy jump up at me because he's thinking I'm coming in to do either an inspection or hassle him. But I just talk to him, say, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? Nothing. And we'd have a conversation, maybe 2-3 minutes, and I'd leave. And it was really something to me, because maybe later on that day, or maybe even the next day, that inmate would come up to me and he'd say, hey, Davis. He goes, hey, man, thanks for talking with me the other day. And I always felt that, to me, just be emotional right now, to just the interaction sometimes. Just a small interaction is just enough to change the savage beast, And we all have that power to make a difference in someone's life just get through all the BS, the anger that you got going on, and realize that it's not always all about you all the time. There are other people that are going through things that are worse than you. I look at it now as a child, as an adult, but as a child, I thought my world was great. I thought everything was going great in my world until I started going through my therapy session and I realized, man, both of my parents, and I'll say it now, they did some pretty harsh things to me. And whether it was mental or physical, it's pretty harsh. But I thought it was love. I thought that was what everyone saw. I thought that was normal. And come to find out, it wasn't. But I just say all this to say that to have the insight that I got, and I look at it and I reflect on it now, and I'm so grateful for the experiences that I went through then that have given me the perspective that I have now. That when I sit back and I take that moment out of my day to speak with someone, and I challenge you to do the same thing, because you never know how you can make someone's day. That homeless guy on the corner, hey, you see that guy sitting there and he's talking to himself and now some guys, I'm not saying go and run up and talk to them, but you just never know how you can make a difference. When just by saying a couple of nice words, just pass them a sandwich, don't even say nothing at all. And it just changes that person's psyche. It makes that person say, wow, there actually is kindness in this world, because all I've seen is hurt and felt anger and bitterness and vengeance. And you can be a part of that. It was a lot for me to even start and even say these things right now, because I always have put on a happy face to a lot of the hurt that I had on the inside, and no one knew other than myself and my parents, or what they said and did to me. Even my brothers, went through some extreme things in the later years, but those experiences made me who I am. So I'm going to end this one right now. And shine your light. Shine your light so that other people can see. And then they see something similar, they could come out of that darkness, and you might just help them, and you might just help yourself, having that conversation with someone who is in the dark, who might need just a couple minutes just to talk. And you might be the person who can just change that person's whole trajectory from going down into lifting back up and living on in the higher realms of life, instead of just trying to just say, hey, nobody cares about me. Now, you also have to have a level of discernment too, because there are people who will take advantage of you. We all know this. I had to learn a lot of that in the prison system, because you got to make a very quick judgment of character right then and there, because sometimes I can have a conversation with a person and connect with them on a certain level, but I better not turn my back on them, because this fool might stab me. I had to work like that in the prison system. It was that quick, and it was that immediate that I had to use. I had to figure out friend or foe and make a determination of whether I can walk away or I'm going to step backwards away from the situation. In life, you don't get to necessarily work like that. But what that did allow me to do is allow me to hone my skill set so much that as an empath, I could read a person. I can get that read. I can look at the body language. I can just get that feel from who that person is. And I can say, okay, yeah, this guy, he's not got it all, but I'm going to treat this person very gingerly, and I'm going to get him away from these other people, because I can see there are a lot of sharks around this person. Because a lot of people sometimes, as I found out, they like to see that person who's hurt and broken because it makes them feel better. They like to keep a person down because it makes them feel better. And while as long as that person is down and they're going to continue to push that person down, it makes them feel better. Now, I say this because all the countless thousands of case studies that I ran myself through while I was working in the prison system, you know, you always get those people who will, they're all in prison. You know what I'm saying? They're all in prison, but because that one guy is bad, because he's off his meds, you know, it makes them feel at least a level of superiority, and everybody just dumps on this person. It's interesting because, you know, I used to be dumped on. And when I had that opportunity to get up from being dumped on, I never forgot where I came from. And that's the perspective that I have. And again, those are those experiences that I will probably in another time talk more about. But those experiences, as I reflect on them, made me a better person. And I've never forgot where I was and where I am and where I came from and who I am. But I shine this light so that I can catch some other dudes, some other females, some other people who are willing to say, hey, I gotta get away from this, and just a little bit is all I need. Just a little bit of confidence. There, you never know who you are. Like I said, for me earlier, I was always looking for other black people like me. I wanted someone who looked like me. In the world that I lived in, there weren't any. There were no other black people who thought spiritually. Let me see something. And felt the way I did. So, anyway, I got a call here. I will see you later. All right?